Welcome to Tilly's Trans Tuesdays Season 4. Last year, I did something I kind of wanted to do for my entire life, but it felt closed off to me, but now it wasn't. And what I found was something truly remarkable. This is about radical trans acceptance, but it's also about roller derby. Hi, I'm Tilly Bridges, your host, and I'm joined by my writing partner, my best friend, my wife, our token cis representation, the first person to radically accept me, Susan Bridges.
Hello.
Our guest this week is Theo Embeck, a therapist by day and weird theater maker by night. He's a connoisseur of trash, Hallmark movies, Reddit train wrecks, and reading or listening to recaps of bad books. Welcome, Theo.
Hi, thank you.
That all sounds amazing.
It's a great bio.
It is.
Thanks.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you, as a therapist, if you have found that a lot of trans clients were specifically looking for a trans therapist, because I would think any good therapist could be helpful, but it also feels to me like there's probably a level of understanding that cis therapists just can't get to.
Yes, absolutely, yes. I work for a nonprofit that lets people, request certain identities from their therapist. We
Sure.
can't guarantee that we can meet every request, but a lot of people do request a trans therapist. And so those of us on staff do tend to fill up our caseloads.
I imagine things have been pretty tough for trans patients like this past year.
I have no idea what you mean. Yeah, it's been gnarly.
Yeah. So, do you have any tips for people who are listening maybe on how to deal with the difficulty of just like the everyday news, of the times we're living in? Like, are there things people can do when it feels like too much, or if they're feeling overwhelmed by everything?
To get personal, I find that doing anything that feels useful helps.
Yeah.
You get to do something that, is helpful to someone, and it helps me to feel not powerless.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I've heard people say that, how was it put? I think it was like, you can't change the big things, but change starts small, and you can start in your own neighborhood, your own community, and help the people there that you can, if you can. And, that stuff builds and adds up. If we all do a little bit at a time, it becomes something bigger. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
I would say I wish I had a queer therapist sometimes.
oh, are you not allowed to request one?
Oh, I never thought about that.
You should look into that.
Well, I can't because my current insurance only allows me to if I have something specific I'm working on. I'm not allowed to just have therapy.
Oh, gotcha.
Wow.
But the therapist, when I would talk to her about my, fears about you and things, and she would just not really.
Yeah, she doesn't get it.
She's like, you can't live in fear. And I'm like, that's not helpful. That's not what we're talking about here. Okay, I'm sorry, Theo. Please go on.
No, I was making a face about that.
All right. Well, then, for you, what has been the best thing about transitioning?
I think it's the community, because it's not just that I get to see myself being more of a way that feels good to me. It's that I get to see myself through the eyes of other queer and trans people.
Yeah.
And I like the way I look there, and I like the way I am there the best.
Yeah, I think that's something that I never even anticipated either, is the community that you can find with other people who understand on a level that, everyone else doesn't. And it's a really special feeling, and it's not even just like the support that you get from other trans people, but being able to support other trans people in that way.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it means so much to me. So I love that. Okay, so then on the flip side of that, what has been the worst or maybe most difficult part of transitioning for you?
So I've got some health issues that mean that some avenues of medical transition are closed to me. It's not
Oh,
clear whether that's temporary or whether that's permanent.
yeah.
I'm hoping that at least some parts of that are temporary, but it's meant that I'm doing less medical transition than I thought I would be and less than I would prefer.
Yeah, that's hard.
It's not great, but I've had a few years to come to terms with it at this point, so I mostly feel pretty peaceful about it. There was a period where I was pretty heartbroken, and
Yeah. I mean,
I'm
I can
most
imagine how that must be really difficult. You wait so long, and all of us wait so long if we don't realize it and aren't accepted as kids,
totally.
to finally be ourselves and then to have it sort of pushed back from you again. I'm so sorry.
Thank you. It kind of is what it is. And and again, I'm really lucky to be surrounded by people who really see me. So
Yeah.
I I'm lucky enough to not kind of constantly be in spaces where I'm being misgendered. I'm lucky enough to not have dysphoria kind of reflected for me as much
Yeah,
as
yeah.
I think I really could in a different situation.
Wow. Well, I hope that things can improve there for you in the future. Medical science sometimes advances. We can hope, and so I hope that something is figured out and you can eventually get everything that you're hoping for.
Thank you.
All right. Well, let's dive into this week's topic, and let me start by saying that this is not the same thing that I talked about in what real cis acceptance looks like way back in episode 5. They are related, and if you're cis, that one will give you a good frame of reference on where to start. But radical trans acceptance goes to a new level entirely. I've mentioned this in a lot of these episodes, most notably in episode 9 on body hacking, but I have always been into sports and for a long time now exercising. It was the first thing I did to start my transition and make my body feel like it was mine. And if you want to see where I'm at, check out the text version of this topic at
TillysTransTuesdays.com.
go ahead and look at those photos. I am very proud. I have worked really hard for a long time to build strength and make my body look the way it does. And I don't say this to brag, though truly I am super proud, but so that you know that this is something that's been really important to me. I was really into sports as a kid, and that alone was one of the many reasons I struggled to understand my transness. Because yes, girls can like sports, but boys are quote unquote supposed to, and the entire world told me I was a boy. So if I liked a thing that boys were supposed to like, I must be a boy, right? Never mind all of those quote unquote for girls things that I also liked that nobody could ever know about. To be a perceived boy who likes girly things is to be mocked and punished by society, by your family, by your friends. The false dichotomy is insidious. Listen to episode 11 of this podcast if you need more on that. But here's the thing about sports, especially when you participate them as a perceived boy. Regardless of how much you like the sport itself, the culture around it is almost invariably toxic. It's kind of a nightmare. You're ridiculed if you don't know something about the sport. You're made fun of if you're not great at the sport. You're derided by your fellow athletes and even your coaches if you're not just, holy crap, the best there ever was. It was effing awful. I was on the track and cross-country teams for a few years in high school, and the head coach, one of the school's PE teachers, mocked me for being slow. Never mind, I had undiagnosed asthma. Never mind, I had knee problems. I came in last in every race, and that meant I was terrible and worthy of mockery. I switched high schools after my sophomore year because my family moved, and my experiences in sports at the first school were so bad that I didn't join any at my new school. One of my friends at my old school, who was still on the track and cross-country teams after I left, said the coach used to yell at whoever was coming in last, quote, "Don't be a Bridges." How could any kid not like that, right? It's a mystery. I tried out for my first high school's baseball team, and despite wildly different conditions that nobody had ever played baseball in before, I was summarily cut after one 10-second drill I had no hope of completing. I talked more about that in the False Dichotomy episode, so do listen to that if you haven't yet. I might have tried out for my second high school's volleyball team, if they had one. They did not, and my first high school only had volleyball for girls, and nobody knew I was one, so I couldn't access that either. You see this same toxic culture around sports, which is invariably wrapped up in toxic masculinity in every professional men's sport there is. Coaches yell at players, players routinely mock and deride opponents. Seeing respect for both the people on your team and your opponents and for the sport itself is so rare. When I would see players from different teams being kind and respectful to each other, it would almost make me tear up. It shouldn't be rare. It shouldn't be that way. What I'm getting at is that while I very much loved a lot of sports, it sure seemed like sports didn't love me. I don't know if girls' sports in high school or younger are less toxic. I hope they are, but that's an experience that I just didn't get to have. Okay, so Theo, I wanted to ask you what your experience with sports was, both as a kid and as an adult prior to roller derby, because I imagine it impacts trans guys in entirely different ways.
I gotta say, I was such a booky little kid
I think I was
that
too, yeah.
I don't know how I avoided them, and I think I might have
Sure.
avoided them if I was, born a cis boy.
Okay.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of gender tied up in it because I was just like, what's this world? It's not for me. I don't understand it and I don't like it.
It's understandable though. Like, did you feel that sort of toxic culture around it?
Yes,
Yeah. Is that, do you think, part of what kept you away?
I do think so. I was a kid who was bad at PE, and
Yeah.
you don't get a lot of encouragement.
You
So I
don't,
guess
and
there
that's
was that.
horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Like if people would just nurture you through those classes, if it was actually about education in physical aspects and not just be the best at everything or we're going to make fun of you, how different a world would that be? What was it like for you as
I
a cis girl?
weirdly, and even though, yes, I am a very bookish sort of child,
Yeah, we're all nerds here.
but for some reason, like my parents pushed me into all of these sports.
Okay.
So I think soccer first, and I quit because they were so toxic.
So even like little girl sports were toxic, even that.
They were really toxic.
Wow.
And I also had asthma.
Yeah.
And in middle school, like I was on the basketball team, but I was mostly ignored because I wasn't one of the top players,
Sure.
So I didn't really matter to the coach.
I have been there.
Swimming, I wasn't good at that.
So what I'm getting though is that like
I was treated kind of like with pity.
yeah, okay. So like
Swim
the sort of toxic culture even you found permeated like cis girls sports,
Yeah.
even for young kids.
Yeah, and
That's awful.
I was mediocre at volleyball. I mean, good enough to be okay at it, but I sprained my ankle during a game and they told me to walk it off.
Of course.
Oh.
So that was
Walk it off. Oh, that's part of the whole thing though, the whole toxic culture.
which I mean, I did. You can do that on a sprained ankle, and then you will pay for
You
it
will pay
later.
for it, yeah.
So yeah, a little
Wow.
of this, a little of that.
You're making it sound so appealing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Well, all of that is a whole lot of setup to get you to this point. I had always thought roller derby looked cool as hell, and that's because it is, but it is generally not something you think of cis men participating in. There may be some leagues that expressly forbid it, I don't know, but there are some where cis dudes are allowed. But even then, they are the vast minority. It is mostly seen as a quote-unquote women's sport, and for the same reasons of toxic masculinity, that alone is going to keep a lot of cis men away. It didn't start out that way, but it changed after it came back into popularity. Here's a quote from a link in the show notes. Quote, "The sport disappeared in the late 1970s before women in Austin, Texas revived derby in the early 2000s. And while pre-revival derby included both men and women's teams, post-revival derby centered around women. Last year in Autostraddle, Gabrielle Grace Hogan termed derby, quote, a sport with no true male equivalent where the women's leagues are the leagues, end quote. And the fact that the sport's resurgence has been driven by, overseen by, and run by women is, I think, why it's as inclusive as it is now. Another quote from the same source. Quote, derby's status as an underground feminist sport means that it attracts misfits. Many of their fellow skaters who talk about not fitting into gym classes or feeling uncomfortable in single-gender sports. Queer people historically flocked to derby, which developed a reputation as an LGBTQ2S+ sick friendly sport. Indeed, derby names, the often cocky, always playful alter egos adopted by derby players, were inspired by drag queens and their drag names." End quote. In fact, derby leagues have even sued state governments over their transphobic laws excluding trans women from participating in women's sports. There is a link in the show notes about that. Here's a quote. Quote, a New York county's law banning transgender women from playing on female sports teams at county-run parks and recreational facilities has been halted for now. A state appeals court on Wednesday barred Nassau County from enforcing the ban while a legal challenge brought on behalf of a local women's roller derby league plays out, end quote. Can you imagine if a sport with more visibility and money behind it had done this? What the impact of, say, the WNBA doing this would be. Dang, now imagine the impact of the MNBA or any men's league doing it. And yeah, why does the men's sport not have to mention gender? Okay, so I'm going to call them the MNBA because there is no default type of human. Listen to episode 30 of this podcast. Cis is not a slur for more on that.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. They don't just get to chop the men off. No, that is the men's league. Just say it. MNBA.
That's true.
But the WNBA and MNBA and all the other pro sports have corporate interests and backers likely pressuring them to not quote unquote be political under threat of losing sponsorships and funding. And this is also a part of what makes roller derby different because it is not a giant corporation. There is a roller derby World Cup, but it's put on by a magazine and full of amateur players because there is no such thing as professional roller derby. There's the WFTDA, Women's Flat Track Derby Association, that sets the rules and regulations for member leagues, but that is it. Roller derby is just 1,250 independent amateur leagues, and each basically runs themselves. There's links in the show notes with more info. Every roller derby league is different, and invariably there are some who aren't great about inclusion, but largely it is incredibly queer and trans accepting. I knew that going in, or I thought I did, but I really wasn't prepared for the actuality of it. Okay, so Theo, what was your opinion of roller derby going into like that first practice? Did you know how incredibly accepting and queer and trans friendly it was?
No, I hoped. And
Yeah,
I did
same.
when I went to their table, they were tabling at an event, and I went to their
Yeah.
table and signed up. It did ask for pronouns. So I put he, him, and thought I just might not get an email. I don't know
Okay,
whether
yeah.
that's even allowed. And then I did, and I thought, okay, I guess I'll at least give it a try. And then I was shocked by just how much they already, had their business together about inclusion.
Yeah, like that first practice, I was like, is this real? Is this real? You never experience this anywhere in our society. Which you should, but you
Hmm.
don't. Yeah. So how did you first get interested in derby? Like, was it just talking to people at that event, or had you already been like kind of aware of it and curious about it?
I'd been aware of it. I'd been to at least a couple of games,
Okay.
and I thought it was cool. I sort of thought it was not a thing I could ever do, but
Same.
I used to roller skate a lot a few years ago.
Oh, okay.
Pre-lockdown, I had a group of friends that would all go to Moonlight Rollerway once a week before it got real expensive. And the owner used to play live organ music on Tuesday nights. And
Wow.
it was so great. He had a sign up by his organ that said the fabulous Dominic.
That's
And
amazing.
and so he'd play the organ and we'd skate around. And so there was a while there where I was skating a lot and trying to copy the dance moves of the people who'd been going there for decades and decades and kind of getting okay. And then pandemic hit and then chronic illness hit. And by the
Yeah.
time I rolled up, no pun intended, to our first practice, my I was way, 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 way out of shape and my balance was way off. So I really had to learn to skate again.
My balance is still way off and I'm still learning to skate again. So,
Heck yeah.
I mean, I don't think I ever really knew, I like did it like 3 or 4 times as a kid and I was always terrible and terrified. So it has been a steep uphill climb for me, but I love it. Well, last summer, a good friend of mine had gotten some info about our local derby league, and they had a training session coming up that ran once a week from August to December. And she said she was going to go and asked if I wanted to join her. I may have mentioned my interest in it to her at some point prior. And I was instantly kind of thrilled at the idea, but also scared because I'd had such rough experiences in sports before, and also I'd never participated in any since coming out as trans. I'd never gotten to play any sport as me. I also, as I kind of just mentioned, hadn't been on skates since I was a kid and I had no safety gear. But the league has loaner gear people can use for as long as it takes them to get their own, and they were open to people of all skill levels, even people who'd never skated before. And see, right there, I was shocked at how different that was. No sport I'd ever encountered in my life welcomed new folks with literally zero ability, at least not once you're more than 5 years old. But also, so many people will say they quote unquote welcome people of any skill level, and then they don't really mean it. They just want to seem welcoming. It's akin to performative allyship, which there's an essay on at
TillysTransTuesdays.com.
and false allyship covered in episode 8 of this show. Although I literally worried about those things too, because how welcoming would they really be to a 6'1" muscular trans woman? Listen to episodes 125 and 126 on Trans Sports 1, Origins and Advantages, and Trans Sports 2, Science and Bigotry, if you're unfamiliar with how the world at large treats the very idea of a trans woman playing a sport. And here is a full contact sport where cis women and trans women play together, and we're accepted? The hell you say? I went to the first session when it was like 90 degrees outside in makeup. Now, I normally only wear makeup for me when I want to, but I will also wear it anytime I'm going to meet new people in the hopes it helps them gender me correctly. See Misgendering and Passing in episode 34 of this podcast for more on that. Some people wear makeup to derby all the time. That's cool, but that's not something I would generally do because I sweat like if my body does not expel all this moisture right now, I will surely drown. I'm like a waterfall. I was so scared, honestly. I only knew. No, it's you get so sweaty. I did anyway.
Oh
I don't
God,
know.
I get very sweaty. I realized that the physical laugh came out when you were talking about fear, and I was like, it's about the sweat.
Yes, yeah. It's oh my gosh. Like there was one time when we were doing one of the scrimmages and they were trying to write numbers on us with a marker. And they could not get the number on my arm because of the sweat. And they were wiping sweat off, writing the number. Nope, wiping sweat off, right? No, and it wouldn't work. I was marker impervious because I sweat so much.
Yeah, I'm always shocked when people say, oh, I'm going to do anything afterwards other than go home and immediately shower because I
Yes,
stink terribly
I'm
afterwards.
so gross. It's terrible. Yeah. Well, I only knew one other person there, my friend who invited me, and I was sure I would be the least skilled person on skates and maybe one of only 2 trans people. I was honestly racked with anxiety. And the best way to convey to you how it went was, I went back again the following week without any makeup on. There had to be at least as many trans and queer people there, including the coaches, as there were cishet people. Honestly, it was probably more. Trans and non-binary people and queer people seemed to be the majority. Is that even possible? It sure as heck was, friends. And they were the most supportive, kindest, welcoming group of people I've maybe ever met. Nobody yelled at you or made fun of you for the things you couldn't do. Nobody said you were so bad you'd better just quit. Though I was certifiably terrible, nobody once said I shouldn't be there or that I was a disgrace to the sport. I am one of, if not the, tallest person in the entire class of newbies, the quote-unquote freshies. I'm very visibly trans. Nobody said I didn't belong there or had an unfair advantage. Nobody made me feel like this was something I couldn't do, despite the fact that after the first session, I actually thought to myself, there is no way I will ever be able to do this. But the vibes were so impeccable, and I had so much fun that I wanted to keep going, despite how many times I fell and all the terrible bruises that would ruin my sleep for a week. Because here's the thing. They made me feel like they would definitely help me improve if I worked at it, but also, and maybe more importantly, even if I never improved or got any better at all, I was still welcome. This large, lumbering trans woman who wouldn't know dexterity if it flipped over and slapped her in the face was truly welcome there, regardless of my skill, regardless of my size, regardless of my gender. Okay, so Theo.
I want to ask what Theo thought after the first session.
That's exactly what I was going to ask. I have it written right there.
I didn't even read the whole thing.
Yeah, that's fine.
I didn't read that.
No, because what people listening don't know is that I met Theo because we were in the same class together.
But I didn't want to get into that until we got the first impression.
Well, yes. So what was your reaction to that first practice?
I was also thrilled by how queer and trans it was.
Yeah.
And I walked away going, "Oh God, I'm terrible. Oh God, what am I doing?"
Same. Okay, we were on the same level.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were practicing falling.
Yes.
And I was realizing it was a real wake up call about how much muscle I'd lost with the illness and everything. And
Sure.
because it was the getting back up that was really slaying me. That I was falling down and I was thinking this is okay. And then we'd fall down and we'd get back up and they'd say, try not to use your hands. And I'd think, oh gosh.
I still have to use them. Don't feel bad.
Yeah.
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 Well,
Try not to use your hand.
yeah, eventually, right? You get to the point where hopefully you can get up without having to use your hands, but I still need to use them to brace to get back up. So
Same.
that's the thing that you're working on now, Susan, because you started going with me when I go to practice in between sessions. And yeah, you're feeling the same way that we did at the beginning, like, how am I ever going to do this?
Well, yeah, I just went to like free skate night
Yeah.
or whatever, rented regular roller skates,
Right.
not derby skates.
Right.
But yeah, the first time, and when I was a kid, I did roller skate, and I remember being pretty good at it.
Okay.
And then, so I just held onto the wall the whole time.
You did.
It just kind of like inched around the track. But and then you showed me how to fall on my knees.
Yes,
And I was
safely.
like, oh, that doesn't hurt.
Right, because you
Cool.
have the pads on.
Right. But like getting back up is a lot harder than,
Yeah.
even though, like, and you're telling me, like, just practice at home. It is different at home. If you practice at home without skates and you get up on one leg, like, that's a lot more stable and
Yeah.
it's not as high because you have the height of the wheels of the skates
Of the skate
as
underneath.
well.
But yeah,
And plus they move.
they do. There's no brakes on the skates.
So I can almost get back up.
But see, that's great.
Almost.
You've only gone twice.
I know, but
You're getting there.
I am also out of shape, like, because, I've been working at home for many years.
Yeah.
I used to go to the gym at my old work, like, years
Mm.
ago, and I used to power lift, and I used to weight lift, and I'm like, oh, man, this sucks.
Building back muscle sucks.
Yeah.
It does.
It's like, oh, I used to have this. Why did I do that? Bodies. They're like, you don't need that anymore. Everyone's gonna
Right.
get rid of it.
It'll take you like years to build up the muscle strength. And then if you don't use it for like 2 weeks, you're like, you don't need it
Oh my
anymore.
gosh.
Ah, it's gone. Now you can do it all over again. Bodies.
They're efficient.
Oh.
Terribly. No, I don't like it. Okay.
Well, there are people in this derby league of every skill level. The people have a wide variety of genders, body types, ages, ethnicities, and more. It is the most inclusive space that I have ever been in, and quite possibly the most supportive one, too. Nobody yelled at me if I got overheated during a 95-degree practice and needed to sit in the shade to cool for a minute. Nobody stops you from getting water whenever you need it. Nobody says, wow, this really isn't for you. The coaches pushed me out of my comfort zone, which I needed, but they did it with kindness and support. They taught me things I never thought I could understand, and they helped me lessen my frustration with compassion. They'd stop me before going out on the rink and fasten my helmet for me if I'd forgotten to make sure that I was safe. The first thing they teach you is actually how to fall safely, and they'll never put you in a dangerous situation like in a derby bout with people much more advanced than you. Safety is a huge priority. And so I stayed through the whole Freshie session, worked as hard as I could in the limited time I have because we are just so busy. There's actually a link about that in the show notes if you're curious, covering all the writing that Susan and I did in 2025. But as we progressed through the session, I got to pick my derby name, Captain Painway. As a huge Trekkie and one half of the writing team on the Star Trek Voyager Homecoming comic, it was too good to pass up. My friend Richard actually mentioned the name to me years ago and said if I ever did derby, that should obviously be my derby name, and he was perfectly correct. And at the end of the session, all the freshies got to play in our first ever real roller derby bout. The coaches made the teams, breaking us up into somewhat even groups based on skill level, height, etc. I was on the Milky Way Maulers along with Theo, and I was really, really excited, but also nervous as all hell. But I could not wait to get into an actual bout because I had not gotten to compete at any sport since high school and since never as myself. And derby players make signs with their name and numbers to hang on the rink during bouts they're in. And you can see mine made with a lot of help from Susan in the text version of this episode. Do you want to mention what your derby name was, Theo? Because it's really good and I love it.
Thank you. It's Scary Grant.
Scary Grant! How did you come up with that?
I like old movies, and I was making a list of old movie related names. My
Okay,
first
yeah.
pick was Buster Beaton, but I was told that made me sound like a pervert. So
Oh.
right,
Oh.
right.
Okay.
Once someone says it, you hear it. So I'm
That
glad
was not
someone,
where I first went to. I was like, oh, I see what you're going for, but yeah,
yeah.
okay.
No, I'm glad someone who knows me said it first.
Yeah.
So Scary Grant.
Yeah. And your poster was so good.
Thank you. It
I
was
didn't see
a
it.
printout of Cary
Oh.
Grant with red eyes and devil horns.
Yes. Because he's
Amazing.
scary. So good. Well, our first derby bout was live streamed, and I had friends watching from all over the country. One of them took a screen grab during my intro, which you can again see in the text version of this topic, along with tons of amazing photos from the bout at
TillysTransTuesdays.com.
Yeah. I'm not going to get into all the rules of the game here, but each team votes to give awards to players from the opposing team afterward. And somehow I won Most Valuable Jammer. In any photo where you see a star on my helmet, I was the jammer. They're the only person who can score points for a team during a jam. I don't know how that happened. Theo got MVP because he's a total badass. Were you surprised by that?
Yes. Yeah, no, I was going into that game with terror in my heart. So
Same. Yeah.
yes.
But you were doing so good. I remember standing on the sidelines just cheering for you as you went by when you were jamming and you were just going around everybody. You were so good.
See, yeah, you were saying I don't know how that happened, and I was thinking, well, I was watching you, so
Oh, you're so sweet.
it's true.
But like I don't understand because to me it felt like I struggled so much, especially in my first jam where I spent 30 seconds of it in the penalty box. But that penalty was later contested by the coaches and they had to confer with the refs. It was a whole thing.
I mean, I fell down about every 15 seconds.
There are photos of me on the ground from the match. Yeah, just so many of them because I fell and fell. And the awards that we got were this little stuffed astronaut holding a string of stars, and mine says MVJ for Most Valuable Jammer. They go with the Bout Space theme. Oh my God, they're so amazing.
Yes.
It's the best award I've ever gotten.
It's on the bookshelf facing my bed.
Yeah. And there is even a video of them announcing my win in the text version of this, and you can see my total in entire shock when they call my name. And the people that were watching on my Discord, which is linked in the show notes if you'd like to come by and join us, even got me a bout shout, which are little messages the announcer says during the game and a little note that you get afterward. And a week after this bout, we had our final evaluations. And despite winning MVJ for my team, I tanked them. I was just awful. And I am frustrated and annoyed that I'm not better than I am. But the coaches were nothing but supportive and letting me know I still have to work on my balance and my leg strength and I need to take the freshie class again. And this is actually fairly normal. One of the coaches said she had to take it twice. It just takes the time it takes, and it's different for all of us. A lot of my freshie class will be taking it again right along with me, and some advanced, like Theo, who moved up to sophomore because he's the aforementioned badass. Congratulations on that.
Thank
well
you.
deserved. Was that surprising to you? Did you
Yes.
think you were going to move up at all?
I wasn't sure.
Okay.
I thought I was likely going to stay a freshie because I can still plow stop about 5% of the time I try to plow stop. It's a kind of stop we have to do, and we have to do it a lot.
They're
And
really
I
hard.
can barely swing it.
Yeah.
But I did better on evaluations than I thought I would.
Okay.
So I did it the week earlier because I was going to be out of town for the sort of extra practice that they tacked on.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't prepared to do it, and I was surprised by some of the things that were in the evaluation.
Yeah.
But then I was surprised that I did all right. And so I for a couple of weeks was just sort of going like, well, I guess we'll see.
Okay. I knew, like going through, gosh. I was just like, oh, I'm taking this so bad. I can't.
Oh.
Like sometimes you can do the things okay, but on that day I could not do like any of them. And I still can't do transitions. The irony is not lost on me. But they're so hard for me right now still. So I knew I needed to take the class again and work on the fundamentals more. I knew in my head that I wasn't going to make it, but then you're still hearing it. You're like,
Mm.
oh. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I was in a place where I heard that I was advancing and thought, oh gosh, this might be a terrible mistake. Maybe I should say no.
Oh
But I think I talked to one of the coaches about it, and they encouraged me to, be challenged.
yeah. So that means I think in the next session you get to train with the more advanced players, right? Yeah, you'll
Right,
be
but
on
I'm
the on
not I'm
the
not
the, the
scrimmage cleared
adult
though.
section of the track.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll do the trainings with them, but then I think, practice reffing while they're doing scrimmages.
Oh, that's
I
cool.
think I think that's the deal. I think you do not no non-player training when you're not scrimmage cleared.
Okay. Help you learn the rules and stuff. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool. All right. Well, even if I never make it to an A level team, or even the B or C teams, even if I somehow end up stuck as a freshie for life, I don't care, and neither does anyone else. And I mean, the coaches are wonderful, and they want to help you improve, and they are. My point is just that there's no pressure about it from any angle, and that is so wonderfully refreshing. 2025 was so emotionally difficult due to all the increasing legislative transphobia, and Derby saved me. It gave me a couple hours every week where I had to focus so hard on what I was doing that I literally could not worry about, much less even think about, all the other horrors in the world. It let my nervous system reset. It made me feel welcome and supported. It made me feel at home. Okay, so after we had our first bout, there was an after party at a local brewery, and that's where I heard you, Theo, talking to one of the coaches about what Derby had meant to you. And that's why I wanted to have you on this episode. So, do you want to talk a little bit about how it has impacted you and what it's meant to you?
Sure. I'd sort of mentioned that I developed a chronic illness in the last few
Yeah.
years, and it was nasty for a while. It's much more under control now, but there was a while where I was not. I'm, how do I put this delicately? I wasn't friends with food for a while, and
Oh, yeah.
so I was rapidly losing weight, and I kind of lost all my muscle mass, and it was pretty scary. And so
Yeah.
I've been sort of starting to build back from there, and I was so disconnected from my body in a lot of ways. So I was feeling frustrated at how kind of physically weak I felt, and also
Sure.
just feeling a bit like a floating head. And
Yeah.
so this has been such an amazing way to reconnect with my body.
I love that because, there's this thing like, I don't know if you had the same experience, but like pre transition, I never felt connected to my body, right? That was like part of the whole deal. It's like it didn't feel like it was mine. And
Yeah.
then now, after transition, where I feel like I inhabit my body and it feels like it's part of me, it's me. I went through something too where I kind of felt like I lost that for a little bit, and it was like extra difficult to deal with because after just getting it, after so long, to lose it again was really hard. Was that part of the
Oh,
struggle for you?
that hits, yeah.
Yeah,
Because I didn't come
yeah,
out until 2019. And so there wasn't a lot of ground between coming out and starting to do things that felt good, and starting to present in ways
yeah,
that felt good, and starting to feel like maybe I am a human being with a body, and then feeling disconnected from it for these other reasons.
yeah. Yeah, that it's so hard. Like I don't know. As our token cis person,
Mhm.
have you ever felt disconnected from your body? Have you always felt sort of like your body is yours? Because I know that you've had a lot of stuff you've had to deal with too, but has that ever been an issue? Do you ever feel like this isn't me?
Yeah, lots of times.
Really? Do you feel totally disconnected from your own body in that way sometimes?
Uh, yeah, it's better now.
Okay.
The more physical things I do,
Sure.
the better I feel, more at home.
Okay.
And I realize that, but then times, you get away from it and you
Yeah,
forget.
sure. You get busy and
But yeah, yeah, I really love weightlifting. I miss weightlifting a lot. And yeah, it's hard because, that's another huge pressure of society, that you're supposed to look a certain way.
Oh, yeah.
You're supposed to weigh a certain amount.
Yeah.
And I look like my Italian ancestors, and that's never going to change. Like, I look exactly like them.
But that's okay. You look how you look. We all look how we look. And that's cool.
But it is hard because I also have a lot of medical conditions, and so I'm
Yeah.
constantly being judged by medical professionals, and that's like a huge, deep, long-standing fear that some medical professional will decide I'm not worth care
Yeah, sure.
because of the way I look and because of the way my body is. And
Which is not entirely different from the barriers that a lot of trans people face with doctors who maybe don't want to treat us because of our transness or mistreat us because of it. Yeah.
But yeah, that's like one of my deepest fears
Mhm.
that gets triggered from professionals.
Yeah. Well, then you've gone to these 2 sort of practice sessions with me, not official derby practice sessions.
Practicing and falling for fun. It's confusing to people around me. There was a lovely teen boy who stopped and was like, "Are you okay?"
It was nice of him to check on you.
I was okay. I was
But-
okay, kid.
But when I retake the freshie sessions coming up, you're going to take it with me. You got into it.
I am. And
Yeah.
it's very funny too, because like the first thing I did was deep research.
That's what we do.
Nice.
This is my particular brand of nerdiness.
Or she even went to like getting skates. She knew more about skates than me, and I've been through a whole session already. Like, you did so much research. I'm like,
I
what
was
is
like, what does this mean? What are these wheels? What does this mean?
I'm like,
What
I
is this?
know.
And like when you started, I didn't like because you were like, my wrist guards aren't great, and then I was like, I'm gonna look up wrist guards, and I'm like, there's this whole Reddit community talking about wrist guards. Did you not even know it was there? Like, there you go, and you got better wrist.
Yeah, because I was hurting my hand a whole lot with bad wrist guards.
But yeah, that's probably more than needs to be explained right now. But yes, I am a researching nerd sort of person.
But what made you want to do it with me this next time through? Was it going to the bout and watching it? Was it just hearing my enthusiasm every week, coming home and be like, oh my God, I have to tell you what happened at practice?
Well, I had to get over my reluctance to be sweaty.
Okay. Yes, you do.
Just don't like it.
It's a good workout. You will sweat.
And the good thing I found out about is that while skating, you don't notice quite how sweaty you are until you're done. And then you take things off and you're like, oh.
Or if
Wow.
somebody needs to write a number on your arm with a marker,
Yeah.
you will find out.
But also, it's a little ADHD. I mean, I have ADHD. And while I'm medicated, it doesn't completely control my desire to learn something new. And so it's new, it's novel.
Yeah.
It's easy to want to fall headfirst into things. That is a very big hallmark of it.
Well, sure, but I mean, this is like such a physical activity.
It is. And it felt great. It felt great too. It felt like weightlifting
Yeah.
in that you have to concentrate on what you're doing at all times. There's no room for you to not think about it, because if you
Yeah.
lift weights wrong, you will hurt yourself.
Right.
So it's a very similar level of concentration, I found.
How much
Which attracts me.
impact did my constantly telling you about how great the vibes were and how accepting they were impact that?
Helped.
Yeah. Was that like a big reason?
Yeah, I guess.
I was just wondering.
I mean, when I went to the bout, it was very cool to see all the flags and things. And
We're going to get there
I know. Okay.
very shortly. Well, for me, I am now determined to get better. I am carving out more time from my week to go and practice skills on my own because I know I need it.
With me now.
Yeah. And because in one freshie session, this has gone from a fun thing I did once a week to something that's really important to me, and I want to get good. And if you want to follow my quote-unquote in-character reports of each derby practice and sort of chart my progress, there is a link to my Blue Sky posts on them in the show notes. I will also update the text version of this topic over time with milestones as I achieve them. And if you go and look at the photos from the bout, in the background, on a lot of them, look at what's behind all the players, hanging on the fence around the skating rink. It is an entire row of mother truckin' pride flags. I didn't ask them to hang those up. Nobody did. Just as part of setting up the rink for the event, the league itself chose to hang all those pride flags on the rink, facing not just the derby track, but all the spectators who were sitting on the other half of the rink to watch the derby bouts. And do you even realize how radical that is? Like, it shouldn't be. This should just be how it is, to show you accept, support, and welcome people of all genders and orientations. When was the last time you saw any professional sport that did this? The closest we usually get is one quote-unquote pride night or something, and that is it. And those reek of rainbow capitalism. Listen to episode 23 of this show if you need more on that poop nugget. Yes, my league, SFV Roller Derby, link in the show notes, sells stickers and shirts and merch in trans pride colors, but they sell it all year around. They hang these pride flags at every event, and most importantly, the league is full of actual trans and non-binary people. I mean, you can look right on the front page of their website. There is a heart in trans pride colors that says trans athletes belong at SFVRD. It goes even further because I've discovered there are some leagues that our league will not play because those leagues are full of TERFs. And if you're somehow unfamiliar with that term, see the essay at
TellysTransTuesdays.com.
which just goes to show you how bad people are everywhere, and not all derby leagues are this inclusive, even if many or most are. But they won't play any leagues or teams that are not trans inclusive because that supports and condones their exclusion, and also because that's not safe for trans SFVRD members. This is, again, radical, even though it should be the norm. SFVRD shows they've got my back and the backs of every single person who joins. They don't care if you're trans or cis, experienced or new, short or tall, fat or thin, old or young. They support everyone of all of sports, and in fact the entire world should be paying attention. Learn the lesson. Okay, so what did the radical trans acceptance and inclusion of SFVRD mean to you, Theo? Because I remember you said that finding out that they won't play turfy leagues was like really impactful.
Yeah, I got a little choked up seeing
Yeah,
that. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of people, a lot of organizations that are trans inclusive to a point.
right.
They don't want to exclude trans people, absolutely not. But they're not necessarily going to put their money where their mouth is when it comes to
Yes,
things like that.
yes,
When it comes to sort of, okay, well, I might lose some things if, my support comes with a cost.
right. Yeah, you're going to lose maybe the dollars of the bigots. And
Right.
I'm always like surprised for some reason that people care about the dollars of the bigots, because you will gain more people by being inclusive that will come to
Hmm.
you that maybe wouldn't have before. Then you're going to lose. The bigots are not the majority, right? They're a very vocal, very loud, dangerous, but very small minority of people. Most people are not them. And so
Hmm.
I just it vexes me that more places aren't like this, especially when you see how it can be. This is the first place I've ever found, right, that shows me how it could be, how it should be. It's so beautiful and accepting.
It really is.
Yeah. Have you encountered any other places that hit like this incredibly high bar that Derby has set?
Honestly, my department at work is wonderful.
That's amazing. I love to hear
Yeah,
that. That is
I
also vanishingly rare.
yes, no, I feel very lucky.
Yeah.
And my workplace generally is, it's a very queer workplace. We serve mostly queer people, and I mostly have experience within my own department. So I can't speak for everyone, but my boss is great. My boss's boss is great. That I've never been misgendered by a coworker at this workplace, which is shocking,
Wow. Yeah.
particularly, as someone who I think often gets read as a butch cis woman.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Like
it's just
I've
never
heard so
happened.
many. That's wow. Because
Yeah.
I've heard so many horror stories from other trans people, of how difficult their jobs have been and how they won't even update their names in their computer systems. And this is all the horrible stuff that they put us through. And so to hear that it can be different, to see that it can be different, it doesn't have to be that way. It's so
Yeah.
refreshing and wonderful.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I came from a place that was worse. So
Oh, well, I'm very glad you upgraded.
I'm holding on to this job with both hands.
Sure. Well, I want to take just a second here at the end to send a very special thanks to our instructors, Nova, Tati, and Zena, each of whom helped me in different ways and were the best coaches a lady could ever ask for.
You're here.
Thank you for being here, Theo.
Thank you for having me.
Folks, I don't know if your local roller derby league is one of the good ones, but if everything I've talked about in any way sounds intriguing to you, you owe it to yourself to find out. Regardless of your skill, experience, age, race, gender, body type, or transness, In a world that is so openly hostile to trans people, especially trans women, it is truly the platonic ideal of radical acceptance, and it has changed my life for the better. Tilly Bridges, end transmission. Tilly's Trans Tuesdays is hosted by Tilly Bridges and Susan Bridges, with audio editing and sound mixing by Jillian Morgan. The written essay version of this week's topic and all past topics is available at tilliestranstuesdays.com. Special thanks to Daisy and Jane for the use of Sorry Not Sorry as our show's theme music. Please stop by and show your support at daisyandjane.bandcamp.com and soundcloud.com/daisyandjane. You can find me at Tilly Bridges on Blue Sky, on Mastodon at Tilly Bridges and Mastodon.social, and on Insta at Heck Yeah Tilly Bridges. And you can find Susan on those at Susan L. Bridges. You can find Jillian at Audio Jillian on Blue Sky. You can join the Tillyverse Discord server by following the link at the very bottom of tilliestranstuesdays.com. We hold regular watch parties for the Matrix films and other trans movies, where I do a live Q&A, and it's blossomed into a wonderfully supportive, compassionate, kind community of friends. We love to have you join us. If you'd like to keep up with all the writing that Susan and I do, you can sign up for our newsletter at birdguestbroadcast.com. Signed copies of our comics and my book, Begin Transmission, The Trans Allegories of the Matrix, are available on my coffee shop at ko-fi.com/tillybridges. If you're listening on YouTube, it's so cliche, but please like and subscribe and take a few seconds to leave a comment. Those feed the algorithm and helps the show be found by so many more people. If you're listening on other platforms, ratings and reviews help just as much, and I'd certainly appreciate them. Thank you for your support. For more information, visit pendantaudio.com. Thanks for listening.